Our kids face many challenges, issues, and peer pressure we never had to face just 15 years ago. Some say we are struggling to try to make a positive change on their school campuses and in our kids' lives. Today we're here at the Omni Rosen with students from Central Florida that are participating in the Partners in Change Conference on Nonviolence. The kids are here today to talk about how they can become part of the solution to free your mind, stop the violence, stop the drugs. And today we are here at the Omni Rosen for the Partners in Crime Conference on Nonviolence. Hello everyone, I'm Charles Morse, and joining me as my co-host today is Cheryl Ketching. She's the director of the Speak Out Hotline.
Hi.
Hi. I got to talking to the mic.
Yes. Hello, how are you?
Okay, I'm okay. And I would like to say hello to the audience. Hello everyone. Hello everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I'd like to introduce my panelists from my left to right. Speaking to the mic, tell us who you are and where you're from.
Lieutenant Frank Valant, Orange County Sheriff's Office.
Deborah Mitchell, a safe team member from Dr. Phillips High School.
Kate Schubert, a student at Dr. Phillips High School.
Kizzy Williams, a student at Dr. Phillips High School.
Amber Larson, a student at Dr. Phillips High School.
Okay.
Erica Delmap, a student at Boone High School.
John Lyle, student at Edgewater High School.
Nami Kim, student at Cypress Creek High School.
Wesley Sun, student at Cypress Creek High School.
Eddie Loiza, student at Colonial High School.
Scott Grove, Safe Coordinator at Colonial High School.
Marge Labarge, Senior Administrator for the SAFE program, Orange County Public Schools.
Bob Pickrell with the Orange County Office for a Drug-Free Community.
Okay, I'd like to welcome all of you. I'm going to ask quickly, talking about today's conference, Marge, it's probably a question for you. Can you tell us about today's conference?
Well, each year we bring in 1,000 students from Orange, Osceola, Lake, Brevard County, and students that are from the public and non-public schools to a nonviolence conference with the whole purpose in mind that with the violence that we're seeing in today's society and the drug use, we know that the only way we can make a difference and change it is through young people. So the conference today is to help young people work together and learn some skills that they can take back into their schools and implement through their nonviolence clubs to help other students make their campuses safe and drug-free.
Okay, I'm looking at some of my notes here, and I see on some of the workshops, and maybe you can briefly talk about some of the workshops here. It says team building, motivation, gang prevention, and cultural diversity, and peer prevention programs. Can you talk about any of those real quick?
Yes, the team building activities will take students from various schools, bring them together, and through the YMCA peer programs, they'll do different activities that will help them unite and strengthen them as a team. And then they will go back to their schools and use these same activities with other students at their schools. The same thing with the activities as far as the nonviolence goes and the conflict mediation. All the workshops today will be dealing with various forms of activities that the students can take back. Everything from cultural diversity to conflict mediation to team building.
Okay. Now, either Bob or you, Marge, can you tell us about the SAFE program, because I know how important that program is.
Okay, the Student Assistance Program is a program funded through safe and drug-free school funds from the federal government. And we have, through the SAFE program, student assistance coordinators in every middle and high schools whose role is to be there and working with students to develop and implement prevention programs and intervention programs to prevent students from being able to, or to help students who are at risk for drugs, alcohol, suicide, child abuse, gangs, and to develop programs and implement programs to help students to stay off of drugs. So it's a prevention and intervention program. In addition, the SAFE program works with Rapid Response, a program where we have people in the schools, case managers and AmeriCorps members in our elementary, middle, and high schools that work with preventing students from becoming physically and sexually abused, as far as not abused in any way by the school, but abused at home, abused in the community, and they identify students who have been abused and then work with them to get help for them. They also make students realize that if they've been abused, that there is a safe way of being able to say it and to get help. We also have, under the SAFE program, the Comprehensive Health Program, and we work with comprehensive health in all the schools and promoting a positive, healthy lifestyle, and also dealing with teenage pregnancy and HIV, and information as far as the dangers of any type of risk behavior, whether it's through teenage pregnancy or through AIDS or through drugs, as far as students go.
Okay, you have a lot of programs there. And I ask, is that a local or state, or is that a national program?
We're funded under federal funds, but Orange County's school board and superintendent are very committed to making sure our campuses are safe and drug-free. Other school districts receive the same amount of funding, if they're as large as we are, and the same type of funding, but they don't use it in the same way. They may use it for barbed wire, or they may use it for metal detectors, but our school board and our superintendent is totally committed to working in developing and implementing prevention and intervention programs that really target youth. And so, no, other counties don't use it the way we do. Osceola uses it very much the way we do, and Brevard uses it very much the way we do. And more counties, as they're getting more funds, are going to be using it the way that we do, and that's in a positive prevention and intervention mode.
How many kids in here know about the SAFE program?
The Student Assistance Program at your school, how many of you know about it? Okay.
Anyone on the panel? Yeah. Okay. I have a question for you. The students, do you feel safe at school? Yes?
Most of the time. He said most of the time.
Stand up. What's your name?
John,
John. And how old are you?
14,
And what school you go to?
Hunger Free Prep.
Okay, now you say it most of the time. When is it that you don't feel safe?
Well, when kids say that they're going to beat up other people,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what they're going to do. You just get scared.
Okay. Does that happen a lot?
Not often.
Okay. How many know about the Speak Out Hotline? Have anyone in here ever used the Speak Out Hotline, or know someone that used the Speak Out Hotline? No? Okay, well, a lot of you know about it, but here's the director of it. I want you to tell us quickly about the Speak Out Hotline.
The Speak Out Hotline is a 24-hour anonymous line. Young people and parents are encouraged to call and report any issue of safety, security, or criminal activity that may be happening in your school or in your community. And even though Charles put you on the spot and said how many of you would use it, that's the cool thing about anonymity, anonymous. That means you don't give your name, so you don't have to raise your hand on that either. But I certainly would hope that if you had information that was going to save your life or someone else's, that you wouldn't hesitate to pick up and call the telephone line. It's 24 hours, it's always answered by a live person, and we always ask people, if you're safe, we want the information. Your name is not what's important to us. And this year alone, this school year, we've already received calls where young people have called because someone was bringing a weapon onto one of your school campuses because they were upset with a couple of their teachers. In a 7-period day, this young person decided they were going to shoot 4 of their teachers and everybody in that class. Thankfully, someone called the hotline and we were able to get that student the help that they needed before we had Columbine happening here. And just so that you know, last year, before Columbine happened, we did receive in Central Florida 28 calls of weapon on campus shooting related calls out of the 250 calls we got last year. So the hotline does work, and we're glad that it's in the schools.
I want to ask a question. If you found out some information that somebody was going to do something wrong, like bring a gun to school, I mean, would you tell anyone? Or if you saw a gun in school?
What'd you say?
Stand up for me. Where you from? No. What school?
Oh, Dr. Phillips.
And how old are you?
16.
What's your name again?
Shantae.
Okay. I asked a question. Would you tell?
I can hear you. What was that?
Would you tell someone? Would you call someone? Would you tell?
Oh, yeah. If somebody was, harming me, I'd tell somebody.
But
If you had information, if you just heard something in the cafeteria and you weren't sure.
Because better be safe than sorry.
okay, now we're going to talk more about some of the situations that happen around the country, here locally as well. That's coming up later. Also, I want to ask you, now they're making some changes here locally in Orange County as well as actually around the country. And I want to ask you, Morris, because we talked about this after the Colorado incident, and you had some phone calls. I think, and I could be wrong, Orange County is thinking about having the uniforms in school?
Well, what we did is, it's not just after Colorado, but being very proactive. We've been working on a comprehensive discipline plan that includes a code of student conduct. How many of you are aware of the code of student conduct at your school? How many of you have seen it? The code of student conduct is one that tells the students the regulations that they must follow and also what will happen to them if they break one of the regulations. And this includes a policy as far as dress code. How many of you know the dress codes now are stiffer than they were last year? Okay. So we've gone to a stronger set of dress codes in Orange County. We've gone to a stricter code of discipline because we want to emphasize the importance of having safe and drug-free campuses. So if you use drugs or if you have a weapon on campus, what you have there is an offense that can result in a student being expelled. As far as the uniforms go, we have some areas of the school district that are really looking toward uniforms. Some of the high schools are using polo shirts with certain pants. A lot of the elementary schools are looking at having their students wear uniforms to school. An example of this is for the first time this year, Maxey Elementary School, a school in the Winter Garden area, went in and is starting to use uniforms there. So it is something that we've looked toward to and really have addressed, and different schools, it's not district-wide, but different schools are looking into it, and the superintendent has set up a committee to determine whether we're going to go further into it or not.
Okay. Question, how do you feel about having to wear uniforms to school?
I personally don't see how we dress or anything like that has to do with any kind of safety issue. I mean, what do our clothes have to do with who we are? I mean, people can wear baggy clothes and not be a gangster. People can wear tight clothes and not be a hooker or a prostitute. That has nothing to do with the person that we are or what we're going to do to other people.
How do you feel about that? Go ahead.
Personally, I'm a student.
What's your name again?
I'm Erica Dunlap
Okay.
from Boone High School. And when I go to school, I like to dress in a way that's more professional, and that's just my personal choice, of course. But I feel that when I'm wearing a suit, I know that I feel more confident about myself, and depending on what you're wearing at school, you act the clothes that you wear, you act that way in some instances. And that's the truth, because I see myself if I was to wear something that was a little bit more tight, I would walk in a certain way. I mean, not in a provocative way, but you stand up straight and you walk as though you're confident, and that's the way that you want to portray yourself, as though you look good, right? But when you're wearing something baggy, or when you're wearing something that's, not necessarily preppy or acceptable, you sort of tend to act a little bit differently compared to what you wear. So it can be an effector.
Okay, you have something to say? What's your name again?
My name is Jai, Edgewater High School.
Okay.
There's been studies like maybe a couple years or 5 years back or whatever that it's proven that when students wear uniforms, there's no, you can't really pick on anyone because everyone's wearing the same thing. Say if you have someone who's wearing a nice outfit and they feel better than the people who have like meager clothes. They won't feel as bad. So everyone's there's an equilibrium. Everyone's on the same page, and you can't pick on anyone. So everyone's on the same mindset. I personally don't think it's a big problem, but some people who are not as confident about themselves as the other may find it better to have uniforms.
I want to say something quickly, because understanding what you're saying, and there's two sides to that, because I personally kind of feel the way that you feel, but then I have to look at the big picture, because basically we're trying to minimize some of the problems that we have, and if that would make it safer for you, then I would say then yes. And I wonder if a lot of students or even parents understand what the schools are trying to do. They're not trying to say, look, this is what you should wear, this is how you should act in a sense, but they're trying to look at the overall picture and make it safer for you.
I feel that we should be able to wear uniforms because, people who's less fortunate to wear the different things or whatever, let's say somebody was working hard on Tommy and somebody couldn't afford that, so it can make them feel jealous and envy that person. That can cause a whole lot of trouble.
Okay. Your comment, stand up. Say your name.
My name is Justin Skipper. In regards, St. Cloud High School. In regards to the comment that you made, I have a steady 3.7 GPA. I'm in the National Honor Society, and I have 23 hours of college credit, and I have a really bright future. And I like listening to heavy metal music, and wear baggy clothes. And I enjoy skateboarding and biking, and I don't feel that I endanger anyone else's life or that my grades have been affected by the lifestyle that I choose or the clothes that I wear.
Are you one of those young men that wear, what kind of stuff do you wear?
I like wearing Jinko and baggy clothes and stuff like that. That's just my personality, but that doesn't mean that I am violent and I like taking my my emotions out on people, or that my lifestyle affects everybody else. I'm just normal. Everyone else, it doesn't matter what you wear. It matters, what you are inside. I mean, even people who wear khakis and they wear polos to school, and if they get poked at or made fun of too much, they are just as prone to go and blowing someone else's head off as someone who's wearing black clothes and lipstick and dyeing his hair black, or someone who's wearing baggy FUBU pants or something like that who listens to rap music. Everyone is a threat. It doesn't matter what you wear. It's not whether you're wearing uniforms, it's your lifestyle.
What's your name?
Okay. I'm not trying to take sides.
What's your name?
My name is Nami Kim from Cypress Creek High
Okay.
School, and I'm not trying to take sides between like the school board about thinking about enforcing uniforms or the students' viewpoint, because I like to wear what I like to wear too. But to explain, I think I sort of understand where the school board's coming from, because if you think about it, it's about equality and liberty. And we're not saying that individualism is bad, and we're not saying that like wearing tight shirts or wearing baggy jeans directly influences violence, or that's not the point, but it's more like if you start having more individualism, more differences, sometimes that can cause conflicts, maybe internal conflicts within a person, and that may, like, in some cases, sow like bitterness in one person. If, for example, if I was poor and somebody was wearing really nice clothes, and I think that's what the school board is looking at. And that's why they're proposing this, although, I mean, there's nothing that's clear. There's not black and white, it's good or bad. But it's about having mix of two and what can be better. I think that's what they're trying to say.
Yeah, if I may, my name is Wesley Sun. I'm also from Cypress Creek High School. I applaud the young man for how well he's doing and that he expresses himself how he wants to. However, I think we need to consider that it's not just about the individual who is wearing the clothes, but the rest of the school environment. Although, I mean, you don't distract me, but there are some ladies who wear some things that I find rather distracting. I mean, not the case with you. I mean, that's just how I am. But the fact of the matter is it does disrupt the learning environment. So although I understand that, okay, you can dress how you want. I mean, you can show up naked and get straight A's, whatever. But the fact of the matter is it influences the rest of the community. It's not just about the single individual.
Let's get a comment from someone that's at a school that does wear uniforms. Hi.
Hi, I'm Cindy Waits, and I'm at Hungerford Prep. All the students at our school, and it is an Orange County public school, all magnet school, do wear uniforms, and we had over 500 students apply to go to that school knowing that they would wear uniforms. The thing I think that I feel strongest about is we know who belongs on our campus, and it does level the playing field. There's no differentiation between whether you're wearing something name brand or your parents are unable for you to do that. And if it doesn't really matter what you wear to school, as everybody says, then why not uniforms? We know who belongs there, and we know that our kids are safe. If we see somebody out of uniform, we know that they're a potential threat to our children.
So you think it helps the educators as well as the people that work at the school feel safe?
Absolutely. And for the kids, they get to sleep later. They know what they're wearing.
Okay, quickly. Question?
I was just going to agree with her.
What's your name?
Kizzy from Dr. Phillips High School. I was just going to agree with her. Basically, I'm a senior at Dr. Phillips, and I know that if we would have had uniforms going into school, I wouldn't have had to worry about what I was going to put on in the morning or worried about how is this going to look together. And if you think about it, it had to be someone to break a rule in order for it to be a law. So the people, I mean, that you're taking up for and saying we should have like our individuality and all that stuff, you need to talk to your friends about the things that they wear, because that's the problem. When people wear revealing stuff, that's what makes it bad for everyone else. So I agree with the school board. I wish we would have had uniforms before it's time for me to leave.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Larissa from Point Santa High School, and I don't necessarily agree with uniforms. I do understand what she said about the fact that you can tell who's on your campus or not, but I go bummy every single day. I mean, my hair looks like this, my clothes are usually wrinkled. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I think that the real problem is backpacks and lockers. If you really think about it, you're not going to necessarily hide a gun in your dress or, you know, whatever. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but I think the real problem is backpacks and lockers. I don't think it has much to do with what you're wearing. And I understand that people get picked on for what they wear, but I'm not going to lie to you. I've been to Walmart before, and I've never had anyone pick on me for my clothes. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily. I think it's the backpacks and lockers that is the main problem.
Okay.
Are you suggesting that we eliminate backpacks and lockers to provide safety?
I'm not suggesting that. I'm basically saying that, I mean, I don't see how clothes are necessarily the issue. The issue is more or less the backpacks. I mean, what are you putting your stuff in? Where do most kids hide the gun? In the backpack or in the locker, which is locked and no one else can get into it until, you know, someone does go to the, you know, the officer at your school and says, you know, there's a possibility that so-and-so might have a gun.
Okay. We got a comment here and two over here, but I will ask the question and maybe one of you two can answer it, but there's a couple of counties which have taken the backpacks and the lockers out of the schools. So, go ahead.
Kelsey Donegan from St. Cloud High School. People are going to be different. You're always telling us to be unique, to be ourselves, and right now they're expressing it through clothes. If you take away their option to express it through clothes, they're going to do it in other ways, and some may come out good, but a lot of it will come out bad. And that is probably going to be a lot more shootings and stuff like that.
Because they have to wear uniforms?
If you take away their ability to be different, they're going to try to do it in other ways.
Okay, I agree with her right there about saying that, you know, it's the lockers and the backpacks that we need to worry about. But I also think that looking at it from a teacher standpoint or a higher authority, they're looking at it as though the problem is coming from where people, the way they're dressing, it's like it sets people into different groups, and that causes conflicts, because I know that certain groups have just, you know, just automatic stereotypes against other people for no reason, and that causes a lot of conflicts, and that's where a problem begins. And so if we're all wearing the same thing, you're gonna have the groups, but you're not gonna be recognized by the clothing that you're wearing, or you know, basically, yeah, what you're wearing. But also, the lockers, I don't think that just by taking those away is gonna solve that many problems.
To add to what she was saying, the uniforms, I personally, it wouldn't matter to me. I mean, I don't think your clothes make a big difference, but if we had the uniforms, it would definitely, you know, everyone in every school there's certain cliques or whatever. You know, you have the people who wear the all black. You have the people, you know, you get predominantly African American clique, the Caucasian clique, the Oriental clique, or whatever. And that would just, I mean, you would have that, but they dress a certain way too, or whatever. And if you had uniforms, everybody would be neutral. There wouldn't be as many as
Right.
confrontations, and I had to agree with her that uniforms would be okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think you can put restrictions on individuality. If we're having so many kids come to school and having problems with their teachers or certain people picking on them for what they wear, I don't think that's the root of their problem. Some may, but there might be problems at home we need to look at. You can't just take away clothes and say school is the problem for all these troubled kids, and you can't say that they're bringing guns and hiding them in their clothes or in their lockers and their backpacks or having problems with certain people. The home issue is also an issue.
Hi, I'm BJ Lindloff from St. Cloud High School, and I just thought of a couple things. Like, if we do take out backpacks and lockers, like, how is the school really supposed to operate? Like, I use my backpack for everything. That's my life. I don't really have a locker at school, so if you take away either that or the locker I could have, I mean, I can't carry like 30 pounds of books to school. And another thing is, if a school just automatically switches to uniforms, that's automatically clothes that I can barely afford decent clothes as it is. So you're saying I got to buy my standard clothes that aren't up to status quo popular, like Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger, and on top of that, I've got to be able to afford a new uniform. I mean, how am I going to be able to afford several pairs of uniforms if I can barely afford decent clothes as it is?
See, we have a lot of hands going up. Go ahead.
I know most of us spend about $150 to $200 in school clothes a year. And like, to just comment to what he was saying, he said he can barely afford school clothes. Well, why have to spend all that money going to different stores getting clothes when you can just go to the place your school sends you and get the uniform? You don't have to buy all those clothes if you just buy the uniform.
I'm Deanna from West Orange High School, and I used to go to private school, and I used to wear uniforms. And regardless of having a uniform, people are still going to add to the uniform or not wear it properly. I think if we do get uniforms, we should have things that the kids could look up to at the end of the week. Like on Friday, you can wear whatever you want. And I think that'll probably prevent people, because we did have a dress code and we had to wear certain shoes, and so people can, diss on, oh, you got Jordans, well, I got Payless shoes, you know what I'm saying? So regardless, people were equal, and we did have something to look forward to at the end of the week.
Oh, I think that's a good idea. What you think of that idea, Bob?
Good idea. Obviously, I would like to remind you of something that Dr. Smith said earlier this morning when he addressed you. He talked about the difficulty in making decisions on behalf of students and teachers and bus drivers and all that, and he referred back to the decision to cancel school for 3 days because of the 2 hurricanes. And I think it's important to realize there is no easy answer to the problem, whether it is uniforms or whether it is this or that, and that whatever the decision is, I'm sure that the superintendent and the people who give him information, just as you are giving information today by way of this program, will be the one that he thinks is best for everybody. And, I commend you on your insight about things that you feel that are important to be considered in making that decision. But I would also trust that as whatever decision is made by the superintendent and his staff, that you would support.
Okay, quickly, I'm going to have you make your comment, but anyone up there know about which county is taking the lockers out of the schools? No?
I'd like to say something.
Okay.
I'm from Colonial, and I'm the safe coordinator. And at Colonial, they haven't taken out the lockers, but they've taken away the book bag. They're allowed to bring it to school, but they're not allowed to carry the book bag whatsoever around school when they're during school. So they can bring their book bag, bring their books to school, and then put it in their locker. Every student is issued a locker. So that has helped. Again, it hasn't eliminated the whole drug problem or bringing weapons or doing something as far as violence at Colonial High School, but it has gotten better.
And I think that's the main thing. I've been there for 2 years, going on my 3rd year, and Colonial had a bad reputation at one time in the early 90s, and it is getting a lot better. And in the 2 years that I've been there, that's when they installed the book bag, and not letting the students participate in wearing it at school or taking it to each class, and it has eliminated the drugs again on campus and some of the violence that's going on campus at Colonial.
Okay. Quickly, Frank, do we have a big problem with kids bringing weapons to school here in Orange County or in the Central Florida area?
I wouldn't say there's a big problem, but we do have some students bringing in weapons, mainly knives, occasionally in Orange County schools.
Yeah, because even at the hotline, Charles, we get calls from kids in elementary school. With a weapon on campus doesn't have to be a gun. It can be a knife. I mean, there's lots of things that are happening. Frank knows this because we communicate a lot because of the hotline. Ice picks and everything that are in some kids' backpacks. But like some of the other students are saying, they could just as easily be in a pants pocket.
Okay.
My name is Allison Campbell from Dr. Phillips High School. And as far as fashion issues with competition or being provocative, I don't see where that really comes into play as an actual issue with clothing. But what I do see is I agree with some of the restrictions that have become more strict this year with people with what they wear, because it seems like in the past administration has given more liberty in what we wear, and we are given the opportunity to choose what we wear and be respectful in our clothing, but some people don't have the ability to govern themselves, and they take things to the extreme. And so I think that, you know, our high school career is preparing us for the future, and we're not always going to have the choice of what we wear, like in a job situation, a career. So it comes into play where we do have to abide under some kind of uniformity, and if we can't govern ourselves and be respectful in our dress, the way we present ourselves to our peers and to our administrators and teachers, then it comes in where somebody needs to set the rules as to what we do wear.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Brooke Whitehouse from St. Cloud High School. With the whole uniform situation, are you guys? Do any of you guys have uniforms in your schools? No. Okay. Did you guys like jack up your prices as far as your uniforms are concerned? Because I know most prep schools and most people that actually do use those, they cost a lot more than like normal clothes that you go out and spend, and you have to go to that like certain places to buy them. Do you guys have to like more money?
We spent a lot of time researching, and first we looked at the Gap and Old Navy and stuff like that to see what kinds of things kids would be okay with wearing. We did some polling of students, but no, we've kept our shirts down to, and they are a collared polo shirt, $15, and the shorts are $17. So compared to the things that my teenagers wore when they went to high school, it's pretty incredibly reasonable, I think.
Like another thing was about the whole book bag situation. I go to St. Cloud, and I know people that go to like Gateway and stuff, they had to have like see-through book bags and things like that, and that's like another solution maybe you guys can like think about. We haven't ever had to do anything like that, but we had like the netting book bags where you have to like see right through it. You can see the books, you can see like if they had scissors or something. People like even call those weapons sometimes, you know, just so other people know.
So
That's what other people.
You talk to the kids, they come up with some good ideas. Did you want to say something, Bob?
Well, once we get through talking about the uniforms and the dress code, I'd like to hear what other suggestions you might have to rid our community of violence and drugs.
Right. Also, real quickly, Ken, could you roll tape 2? I'm going to show some faces up on the screen, and just want you to look at them, and if you recognize any, I want to get some feedback from you. If you can roll the tape now, Ken. And if you recognize any of these people, and there's some that are national, there's some that's local, and just want to get your feedback on your opinion of what you think of some of the people that you see up here. Now, I know who these people are. And I think one of the things that bothered me the most, other than the fact in their actions, but for students, some students around this country actually, for a couple of those people on there, actually put them on their T-shirts as if they were heroes. And I would like to get some feedback on that, because I would like to know if there's anybody up there would you wear on a T-shirt. Can I get some hands? Do you see anybody that you recognize up there? And this is the last one here. Okay. Any feedback quickly? Go ahead.
I really don't recognize any of those, but I'm guessing a lot of them are from the recent shootings that we've had. And first of all, addressing people, putting those people on T-shirts, I think that's sick. If you think someone like that is a hero, then you've got problems and you need to find like serious counseling. And also, I think that it's like it's really sad that the issues weren't addressed like ahead of time. I think a lot of those crimes could have been prevented from happening if somebody would have spoken up ahead of time instead of waiting till the last minute and not saying anything for fear of either getting caught themselves or ridicule after it. I'm not sure, but...
Okay, I'm going to get the two. Go ahead, real quick.
I'm AJ Darter. I'm from St. Cloud High School. This is going with the dress code and the backpack things. With the backpacks, you know, what Brooke said, we can just have clear backpacks or mesh backpacks. And with the lockers, we can either probably switch to cage lockers, which are, you know, they have cages on them, and it's easy to see through when you can just look at them and check their lockers. And with your clothes that you're wearing, it doesn't depend on what clothes you wear. It's who you hang out with and who you're with that probably influence you. I mean, there are people with different learning levels, there are people with disabilities, and these people take in stride that what other people do because they don't know any better and they have no one, for example, at home, their parents are at work and their parents are trying to treat them all special and they're trying to help them. But when they go to school, they're influenced by the people around them that are, you know, some people can be wearing, I don't know, their father's work shirts or their mother's work shirts, and they can be wearing torn up jeans and probably just wearing a colored shirt and a plain pair of shorts, and they can be influenced by them. And, you know, someone can be wearing baggy pants and baggy shirts and something, and they can be doing good and they can be influenced by that. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. It depends on the personality and the intelligence of whatever the person is.
Okay, I had two comments up here.
I think what administration and the school board is doing to help stop the violence is really good, like by making us wear name tags and kind of thinking about the uniforms and stuff. But I think the real change is going to come when we go back to our schools and we start like showing them that we're really listening to administration. Because if we show that we're not interested in the things that they're saying and that they're teaching us, then the point isn't really going to get across to our peers. So I think us as leaders of nonviolence have to start showing that we're behind them 100%, or the rest of the school isn't going to listen to the ideas and stuff that they have.
Okay, there was another comment up there. Go ahead.
I have two comments. One pertaining to the lockers and backpacks. I know I carry everything that I need for school in my backpack, and if they take that away, then I'm going to be carrying around tons of books and notebooks.
What you think about the clear backpack?
That would be a better solution than
Okay.
just taking it away.
Okay.
I would like to see that if we had to change it at all. And my other comment was about the school shootings that Amber was talking about. I think that if one thing happens, for instance, Columbine, I don't know if that's anything's going to be positive about that or negative, because the media is what I think is feeding these killings. If someone goes to school and shoots someone and their face is all over the news and saying, well, so-and-so did this to school, and there are kids out there that are looking for an answer to some of their problems. They're like, well, I'm going to get noticed and I'm going to get famous. I don't care if I have to be in jail. I'm going to be there on TV. And they're going to see the stardom, and they're going to start planning their own shooting.
The thing that gets me, though, being famous, being known for the kids that was in Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the psyche of a person that says, I'm going to go do this, and then I'm going to shoot myself, and you end up in a morgue with a tag on your toe. It doesn't make sense.
Going back to the book bag and locker thing that I said, I couldn't live without my book bag and locker, but I was just more or less pointing out that it's kind of hard to, to point the dress code out to that. And then the girl, I don't remember your name, the fourth girl from the left side. Yeah. She had mentioned something about how it would be more affordable for him to buy just the clothing for school and how he wouldn't have to go shop around or whatever, but you're not necessarily going to go to the movies in your school uniform or, you know what I mean, or out on a date with anyone, and if you want him to have no social life, then I could understand that, and maybe it would be cheaper. But if he's going to go somewhere outside of school, he's going to need more clothes, and therefore it's going to be twice the spending money, and if not twice, at least a quarter more.
For some, you're right. Bob, would you ask that question again about what?
Yeah, if you were the superintendent, or you were the county commissioners, or you were the governor, or you were the man or the woman in charge, what kinds of things do you see that you would make happen or do to rid your school or your community or your neighborhood of violence and drugs?
Go ahead.
I don't know if you can 100% rid your school of violence or drugs, because you never know if one day one person is going to wake up and be like, I think I'm going to do this horrible thing today. You don't know. But if I were a superintendent or an administrator at my school, I would definitely have more workshops like this, if not a class that people are required to take. Because at this conference, a lot of positive people in our school are here to take back information. I also think that kids that get in trouble at school a lot or having trouble need to come here too and learn the positive way to be and not to be so negative, so they can take that back to their friends also.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Her.
Okay, we can't do anything drastic. I don't think there's one action that we can take that'll eliminate all the violence and problems we have. But I think we can start with conferences like this. Or past summer, I went to UCF for the Lift Summit program, and that's something called Leaders for Tomorrow. I think more conferences and programs like this, so that's open to everybody, not just selected people who are involved with safe programs, or just selected few that were chosen from the school, but for everybody. I think it'll be really beneficial. And I know that for our school, we have a club called GEAR, stands for Grade Education, Achievement, and Resolution, all the things that you can place violence and drug abuse with. And starting clubs like that, where we do something like candygrams in recognition of random acts of kindness, where you write thank you notes to all the teachers and friends, or sorry notes to anybody you had fights with, and we attach candies and we deliver them. Yeah, it sounds pretty rudimentary. Yeah, it sounds very childish. Yeah, it's just candies. But it does make the point across, and it does promote what we're trying to say to the people out there who are having problems. So I think we can just look around close to us in our communities and schools and do many things that may not be that significant but still make a big difference.
So you think it's the little things that count?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to go back to the stage. We got a comment right here.
I'm Nick from Hunger for Prep. I really don't think you can solve violence, because if you boil it down and look at every little thing, everything can be turned into a deadly weapon. Pencils, you can poke somebody with them. Forks, same thing. Knives, spoons, you can do it with anything that you can find out there. So you really can't try to solve. You can try to solve it, but I don't think you can.
Well, I don't think that I understand what you're saying. I understand that, we can restrict and we can restrict until we have no more liberty. But you're right. I could scrap with a guy with my bare hands. Okay, the solution is, it's not that the solution will never come, but the solution is not necessarily in changing the dress code or adding more metal detectors or putting more deputies on campus with guns. The solution would be us personally in the classroom, not just at club meetings. Because I'll be honest, I'm in here, I'm the vice president, and our club is not so big that it covers the entire school. It's when you get out of the club meetings and you go out into it. I also like to point out that for those of you who insist that uniforms will somehow limit our expression, certainly we're all sitting here, and most of us have on the same T-shirt. Most of us have the same rainbow-colored folder. I'm not too keen with the rainbow colors, but the fact of the matter is, I don't think any of us have not been able to express themselves. We don't all agree in here. I think we're all individual people in here, and we're all wearing the same shirt. Well, most of us are wearing the same shirt. So.
Okay. You had a comment?
Yes. To add on to that, excuse me?
Sorry, gentleman right here. I'm sorry.
To address the issue earlier stated about these kids shooting people to to be famous or to have some recognition. I think the mentality of these kids are that a lot of these kids are antisocial. They don't have a lot of friends. They're not recognized in the school. They look up at the people, or they go to the jocks, the whoever, and they want to be them, but they get picked on by them. So their mentality is negative recognition is better than no recognition at all. So they do this, whether it be killing themselves or killing everybody to get recognized somehow. And so they figure they do that, and they'll get recognized somehow. So I think that's the mindset of these kids.
To add on to what he was saying as well as Wesley, I think that the school board, it's not the educators' fault. I think we do play a big part, of course, in what our peers do at times, but also we have to think about what the parents, we can't put all the weight on the school board for wanting to change the dress code just because we don't know how to act. Honestly, we can put a little bit of responsibility on ourselves as well as some of the parents of people who, the reason why they go towards a negative way is because they're not getting the recognition that they want at home. And that's something that we probably can't change unless, people take individual responsibility.
Okay, we're going to come back to the rest of the comments. So, hold on a second. There was a story that was on Channel 2 and Channel 9 this past weekend, and I heard about this taking place over in Lake County. This is a report that was filed by Channel 9, and I want you to take a look at it, and I want some feedback from you as well. Go to tape.
With so many tragic school shootings happening in our country, officials in Lake County prepare for what they hope never happens there. Check out the scene at Windy Hill Middle School in Claremont. SWAT team members surrounded the school as a sheriff's helicopter hovered above. The Lake County School District put together this elaborate drill to learn how local agencies would respond to a real school crisis.
We know that schools, unfortunately, very tragically, all over our nation, are the target of some horrible things going on today. And a community is very shrewd and very smart to be planning for any of those tragedies, and that's what's going on here on a Saturday afternoon in Claremont, Florida.
Actors were hired to play the roles of gunmen and hostage takers inside the school. The exercise helps SWAT team members work out techniques for surprise attacks, techniques they, of course, hope they will never use in real life.
That's kind of scary, eh? Okay, go ahead.
I'm not so sure if that would work or not. I think that a lot of people would not take it seriously at all. They would look at it as just a joke, and they would kind of laugh at it. And so if you actually took the time, took the money to actually put people in that situation, you would have to find a way to actually make people feel like they were in this situation, because I'm not so sure that it would really work.
Okay, going back to what the gentleman on the far right, whose name I don't remember, I believe he asked that we should give you some ideas as to what we could work with to help solve the solutions, or not solve the solutions, but solve the problems. And what I thought of is that a lot of the punishments for bringing, say, a knife to school are not very severe. I know a lot of kids that carry around a pocket knife like it's nothing, because they know if they're caught, boom, 3 or 5 days out of school and then they're back. No big deal. But I think if we took those kids and maybe had them spend 4 or 5 days in a county jail, then when they come back, they'll be much changed after experiencing that. And another thing is they talk about the media and gaining coverage or stardom or something. But if you really think about it, when you look at those kids, they're not happy at all. They don't want to be where they are. So I don't think it's the media's fault, because I play video games a lot, and I play the violent ones, and they don't affect me at all. What we need to do is we need to look at the people and try to find out who the video games or media, like Marilyn Manson, is affecting. Because when I watch MTV or I play a game, I know that when I turn the TV off or my computer off, that it all goes away. I know it's fake. Makes sense?
But see, there's a lot of people that are not like you.
Right, BJ. There are a lot of people that listen to Marilyn Manson and they believe it and they do what it says on the song. Everyone is not like that. So, right. But so how do we help those kids? Let's go back to the one comment when somebody on the panel was talking about positive and negative peer pressure and the influence that you all have over each other, that the change has to come from the inside out. When kids get suspended from school for whatever the offense is for 3 or 5 days, how are they received on campus when they come back?
I think at my school, if I find out about somebody who has been suspended for, I think we have the 10-day suspension. And when somebody comes back from suspension, a lot of people are just sort of joking around like, oh man, what'd you get suspended for this time? Or something like that. It's more of you're sort of being glorified in some aspects from your peers. You're being glorified basically for what you got suspended for. And personally, being suspended isn't a good thing. I mean,
so could there be something that you all take back to the schools that encourages the ones that have been suspended or the ones that look, walk, talk, act different, the outcast at your school, to make them inclusive so that then they will want to be part of these kind of positive conferences and changes?
I think the most important thing that we could do is, instead of creating stereotypes and instead of being so general with everything, if maybe we could all just sort of have an open mind about people who listen to different types of music or wear different types of clothes. If we don't just stick to our own and we become a little bit more open-minded, things will be a little bit better.
Okay. Hold on. You got to come in here.
I think we're all looking at the wrong time. I mean, it's true that the high school situation needs to be looked at, but by the time you're in high school, you already have like 90% of your morals, 90% of your personality, everything's already developed. So it's kind of late to start trying to change people by the time they're like 17, 18. We need to start looking at their families when the children are young and start implementing programs that families can be involved in. Okay. Because like even in elementary school and stuff, you don't even get drug stuff until like, and then even then it's just like school, it's like, ooh, yeah, we're not supposed to do it, we're not supposed to do it. And then when you get in high school, everything's different. And by then your morals haven't been set, you're not programmed to do that. You go with what you do, and if your family's not doing it, then you're never going to be that way.
Good, very, very good comment.
I know at Dr. Phillips we have a chain we go through for tardy product policy, and the chain goes all the way down to a 7-day tardy school that they have to go to. And I was wondering, why don't we have a nonviolence class that they go to? If someone gets into a fight, instead of suspending them for 10 days, why not send them to a nonviolence class or 7-day nonviolence class? I mean, because you have to also wonder what kind of trouble are they going to get into when they're suspended for 10 days? Because we're not just looking at the violence they're doing in school, but they could hurt a schoolmate outside of school too. So,
for suspension, I don't think that it affects people that much. I know that personally, my friends have been suspended and they come back and they're like, oh, I had so much fun. I stayed home, I got to sleep in, it's like they're on summer break again. And they come back and people, like she said, they glorify it almost. And I think I also agree with what she says. There needs to be some kind of punishment involved in it. Missing school and having to make up your work. A lot of the times, if they're being suspended, they're not worried about making up their work in the first place, and so they need something that makes it seem like a bad thing and not something that.
So if you're suspended from school, then the parents should take part in saying, we're not just going to let you stay home and sleep.
Yeah, and sometimes the parents, they're not even going to take action. So, if the parents aren't going to take action, I know it's not the school's responsibility, but they need that somewhere, that kind of support and that kind of discipline.
Okay, we got 2 here and 2 there. Let's go.
Okay, I'm going to give my personal opinion to the gentleman that was asking the question. What would we as students suggest that the superintendents do, or people who have some kind of authority? What I think is that I don't discredit the SAFE program at all, or the nonviolence program. A lot of these measures and methods have been taken, and thus far they have not been too successful because we're still dealing with such tragedies as what took place in Columbine and so forth. And my personal opinion is that if, it's just 5 simple words, reinstate prayer in public schools. And I believe that when there was prayer in the public schools, we weren't dealing with half of these things. And I think because God has been pushed so far out of the public school system, that's where we've had such issues like this to come in.
Okay, quickly, we got about 1.5 minutes.
Truthfully, I think it starts in the home for students. Another thing is that about the whole suspension thing, I know people that actually would go out and do stuff just to get suspended. And that's where we start adding up all the violence in the school. Half of that stuff can probably be prevented if we did have suspensions. It should be in school. Kids, they don't want to go to school, so they'll act up. to not be in school. And I think that we should at least do some programs to prevent this stuff.
My comment pertains to everything in general. The more you restrict kids, the more they rebel. And I'm not saying that there should be no rules. There should be rules to a certain extent, and you should discipline them. But if you keep putting rules on them, they'll keep rebelling.
Go ahead.
Just as an overview, I think we would all do better if we just, because I don't, like there's a saying, you know, birds of the same feather flock together, and I think you're always going to have that, but you have to just accept the differences between each group or whatever, and just move on and progress and not mock or tease or anything.
Okay, real quickly, we got about 30 seconds.
Okay, I was going to respond to the clip that we saw.
Yes.
I was just going to say that it's really sad that we have to practice and rehearse a situation like that. But if that means, if it's going to be effective, and if that promises that, if it's going to help that we won't have another Columbine or another Texas shooting, then I think it's worth it. And about changing, I don't think it's never late to change. Even if you're 7 years old, yeah, most of our morals are set by this age, but it's never too late, and we should never stop trying because of that.
Okay. I want to thank all of you for participating. I want to thank all of you as well. I want to thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'm Charles Morse. Until next time, be positive.